Kings and queens, today we have Judge Joe Brown. He's been asked if Trump is a racist. He's talking about impeachment, Biden, Obama, and so many other people. Welcome back to the kingdom. If it's your first time, I know it will not be your last. It's your bro and your host, King Blitz, checking in. One time for the one time. You are now in a community full of thinkers. We are Team Think, and if you're watching me right now, you're here to do just that. So, without further ado.
What is your take on Trump? Is Trump a racist?
I don't think so. I've talked to a number of black entrepreneurs who back in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, were trying to get financing. They couldn't. Somebody told them to go check with Donald Trump. So they come back and tell me they got a loan from Donald Trump. He gave them a term loan. Show up with the interest and the principal, one check. But they had to go see him personally. They independently relate this tale that when they saw him, he said, "This what you supposed to pay me? This our agreement?" I said, "Yeah." And then tore the check up, shook their hands, and congratulations. Now run your business.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's profound, right? So just to break it down again, reiterate, Trump in this time, he's saying that black people, you know, a lot of black entrepreneurs were finding it hard to get loans for their businesses. And they were being told to go to see Donald Trump. Donald Trump would then, I'm sure he didn't just approve everybody, but for the most part, he was approving those who couldn't get approval anywhere else. And not only would he give them the funding or the capital for them to be able to jumpstart their business or, you know, maintain whatever to whatever capacity, he then would to ask them for his money back plus the interest. But when it was time for you to turn that money back plus the interest in, he would tell you to keep it. Yo, that's dope. We gotta salute that one.
And this was when?
This was back in the 90s. See, most people don't even know this. He had a sister. He was, every time you saw him back in the 90s, fine paper bag, brown, beautiful black model. He likes fine women. He didn't have any problem with dating a black woman, walking her down red carpets. So, I mean, she says he's not a racist. He just doesn't like many people, black or white. And he appreciates people who do stuff within their lane. Well, not stay in their lane, but where they choose to be, if they do it well, he admires them. Black, white, brown, red, yellow. Most people don't know this. He was the finance man behind Jesse Jackson's 2 runs for president.
Wow. Wow. Yo, the left. Yo, that's a... Oh, man, I'm finna look this up right now.
Wow.
So, you know, he talks, but I don't mind somebody talking. I think we've gotten too sensitive to that. That's part of the effeminization of the country. I remember in junior high and high school, hey, man, I won't say nothing, man, but last night when I saw your mama, man, you don't know I was over there because you was asleep, man. But blah, 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 blah. We ran to dozens. That was our sport. Mm-hmm. So we were used to talking about each other. Now, man, he talking about my mama, man. What's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm. Do you think Trump will get reelected?
I think he's going to get reelected.
Oh, wow. The information that I'm seeing is verifying what he's saying in terms of him funding Jesse Jackson. And then it also goes on to talk about, I don't know, they had some sort of feud, but that's whew.
This impeachment mess we've got right now. There's a thing called the U.S. Constitution, and the Constitution says the president is the chief diplomatic officer of the United States. It puts no limits on his discretion. It simply says that if he comes up with any treaties, they have to be ratified by the Senate. If a treaty is ratified by the Senate, it becomes part of the supreme law of the land. The president and other elected and appointed officials are under oath required to follow the law of the land. The State Department, Secretary of State are part of his cabinet and are essentially advisors to the president. He's the boss. So what he does relative to Biden is simply what is allowed and mandated by the Constitution, specifically Article 1, Section 8, that says the president is charged with, quote, enforcing the law of nations. We have an Interpol treaty with various European states, and also one specifically with the Ukraine that requires that we basically investigate, apprehend, prosecute, extradite criminal elements and criminality. Mm-hmm. So Biden, out of his own mouth, and I've heard this tape twice, January this year, he says, 2019, he says, I guess I broke some laws, extortion. I told the Ukrainians if they did.
He came out and said this too?
Extortion. I told the Ukrainians if they didn't get rid of this
the
prosecutor's name is Skola,
the
I think.
Anti-corruption prosecutor.
Yeah, he said if you don't get rid of him, we'd withhold $85 billion in loan guarantees.
Crazy.
So his son, who had just been discharged for the military for being a junkie, had a drug problem, had no history in business. He affiliates with this, and at the time, Biden was in charge of the U.S.'s Ukrainian posture and relations. Obama had assigned him that. And by implication, he brought Obama into committing a crime in office, which is a felony. It's extortion.
Oh, bro, this... Yo, Sleepy Joe, whoa, this is... And I remember people telling me something about, Obama committing a crime and things of that nature, but this just kind of like linked it for me now. Now I gotta, bro, it's so much stuff I gotta dive into. I gotta dive into the Jesse Jackson, Trump dynamic, you know what I mean? Now I gotta dive into this Obama, Biden, yeah.
He committed one extortion by out of his own mouth, threatening to withhold $85 billion in loan guarantees if they didn't get rid of this prosecutor who was zeroing in on that corporation that his son had just been hired to represent after Biden Sr. had been assigned by the president the task of dealing with Ukrainian diplomacy. So son gets $18.5 million out of it, and he has no background other than
Biden keep pouring into Ukrainian
dishonorable discharge from the armed services for drug abuse.
But one last question: do you think black people are missing an opportunity with Trump?
Oh yeah. See, you've got somebody that is not a lifetime Republican. He's been a blue dog Democrat for most of his life. He usurped the Republican Party. So I think this thing I've been tweeting about, no benefit, no vote, ought to be the deal. We haven't gotten a damn thing out of the Democratic Party for a long time. And the last one, number 44, and the one before that, 43, Bush and Obama, well, there are pictures of Bush with his arm around 8-year-old Barack Obama because his stepdaddy, adopted daddy, Lolo Sotoro, had done a lifetime worth of business with the Bushes.
Wow.
Uncle George Herbert Walker, after whom George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 1 president, was named, founded Halliburton in 1946 in Oklahoma. And Lolo Sotoro had been international executive vice president for Standard Oil.
There was talk of him being a CIA asset.
Well, yeah. See, he ran the death squads for the Indonesian army. On his own call, anyone could be assassinated. So when George Herbert Walker Bush became head of the CIA under the Ford administration, he just got with his old buddy in the oil business, Lolo Sotoro, and pulled off the hits. See, Barack's grandmother has been acknowledged as being the woman that operated the channels through which CIA money went to the Southwest Pacific. So she introduced her daughter, who had just had Barry, Barack, to Lolo Sotoro, and they got married, and Lolo Soetoro adopted Barack Obama. The name was changed to Barry Soetoro. Now, when he went to high school in Hawaii, I know about that high school. I almost sent my oldest son to it. I could afford it, but I didn't think he deserved it. 20 years ago, the two...
I like how you speak his mind, no matter the dynamics, whether he's sticking on topic, talking about the political realm of things, or even going in on his son. I know most people like, yo, why would he do that? Why would he throw his son on black? But as a father, I know the son over there like, what the? But no, in all seriousness, this is a lot of information to dive into, man, from diving in Biden and Ukrainian war. Ukraine and, everything he's been doing to fund the war with that, how he was assigned to it with Obama, to how he incriminated Obama, or, assisted in incriminating Obama. And, yo, this is a lot, bro. It's a lot. I'm like, and I mean, I'm not too surprised that Judge Brown is as elaborate as he is, just simply because I've seen some of his proceedings.
Now, when he went to high school in Hawaii, I know about that high school. I almost sent my oldest son to it. I could afford it, but I didn't think he deserved it. 20 years ago, the tuition was $95,000 a year, not including room and board. Crazy. When Obama went there, I've talked to two of his classmates. They independently state that the tuition, not including room and board, was $45,000. Now, Business Insider reports his income for 2017 at over $200 million net. That's after taxes, deductions, write-offs. For this last year, 2018, they reported it as $570+ million. And that's after all deductions, tax, right? Trump doesn't make that net. I mean, even some of the richest people in America don't make that. Why? Because when his stepdaddy died, he was one of the 10, 15 richest men on earth. And he left everything in a trust fund operated out of Indonesia, so the American government can't touch it. That makes Barack Obama 1/3 beneficiary for the assets of one of the 10, 15 richest men on earth.
Yo, that man is set for life, is what he's saying.
So we got a game run on us. So, that little thing that Bush W does when he gets with Michelle, they giggle and he gives her candy. The inside thing, is that supposed to be the same kind of candy he used to give to her husband when he was 6, 7, 8 years old?
Oh, wow.
Bruh, some bombs were dropped in this one. We got to get some even more insight into Trump's past. We know that the black community is very divided in terms of whether they root for him or not, whether we root for him or not. And I think that it's important for us to be able to obtain information like this and obviously go verify it. Some stuff I still need. I can verify that he, through just this brief Google search, Bing search, because Google be fronting on me sometimes. I was able to discover that, yes, Trump was funding Jesse Jackson's, part of funding Jesse Jackson's campaigns. That was just off a couple brief headlines. That's crazy. But these things aren't highlighted, and that's the surprising part about it, because I'm sure if my community was aware of a lot of the different things that he's been able to accomplish in the black community, man, it would be a different level of insight, a different response. Yeah, man, I feel like we just our mind is already just made up. Man, dang, I had one more key point that I wanted to bring up and I can't remember. And I'm trying to remember before I get too lengthy in this video. Man. but I can't. Oh, well, yeah, in terms of Trump being, racist again, when Judge Joe Brown was talking about how his wife at the time, I guess, described him as somebody who just don't like people in general, black or white, it don't matter what you are. I was taking it as he has a low tolerance for a lot of people, and he only and then he also mentioned that Trump only wants people to play their position, not saying that they can't elevate, but he wants you to do what you came to do, not anything else. So that's cut and dry. And I know a lot of people. Oh, okay. Now I remember what I wanted to say earlier too. A lot of people, we tend to get offended by these words and how somebody relays the message. And it's like, yo, we just got to get out our feelings about this. I know I don't like how you said it, but what did you say? Did it make sense? Was it necessary? A lot of us just don't like to hear about ourselves. And that's the bigger issue, honestly. I mean, including myself. It's not always comfortable to hear about myself, but I prefer to, as opposed to either sugarcoat it. Let's chop it up in the comments. Kings and queens, thank you. First of all, I gotta tell you thank you, and I appreciate you, because if you made it to the end of this video, that means you're seeing this right now. And let's be honest, how many of us usually make it to the end? I'm a little guilty myself sometimes. Anyhow, by doing that, you've helped further this video in the algorithm. Now, if you want to take that support one step further, please smash that like button before you get up out of here. I want to say thank y'all for the donations, thank y'all for the comments, thank y'all for the likes, thank y'all for the views, and all the well wishes. I'm going to push that energy back up on y'all. Last but not least, be safe, but go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Kingdom.